Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Well, let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, our first story is titled, Would I Be the Arsehole for Reporting My Mum and Sister for Stealing My Car? I, 24 male, live with my mum in a rural part of the USA. For context, when it comes to my sister, 37, she is much older and we come from different fathers, and we both grew up in split custody arrangements. We are not particularly close, almost acquaintances, more so than siblings. I don't really feel any familial connection, even though I love her. I don't feel obligated to bend over backwards for her. Well, sister lives 2 hours away, in a much more urban area, and is currently going through a divorce. Her and her husband only had one vehicle and it belongs to the ex-husband, so when they split, he took the car. Sister has 4 daughters and works a full-time job. I, on the other hand, work from home and have no real external responsibilities. My mum came to me asking if my sister could borrow my car for a couple of months until the divorce is finalized, so she has a way of transporting her and her kids to wherever they need to be without the financial burden of purchasing another car, or relying exclusively on ride-sharing. I just recently bought my car, a V8 Mustang, and it's my first vehicle ever. I didn't get a hand-me-down or get one as a present when I turned 16 or 18. I was basically immobile except occasionally being allowed to drive my mum's car. But when my dad had me, I could get Ubers. Getting my own vehicle was extremely liberating, minus the loan, and I don't feel trapped at home. So when I was approached with this proposal, I flat out said no. I can totally understand the justification for letting her use my car for a couple of months, but aside from the fact I don't want to lose my newfound sense of freedom, I also don't want someone else driving my car. Maybe that's selfish of me. Over the last few days, my mum and sister have been trying to convince me to let her use the car, saying that she would pay for the car payment while she has the car, or that she'd pay for the insurance if she has it longer than anticipated. No matter what they brought to the table, I kept saying no, much to their dissatisfaction. Fast forward to this morning, I realized that my mum isn't home. I opened our garage to see that her car was still there, but mine was not. I immediately know what has happened and called my mum about the situation. She just tries to calm me down and have me try to picture it from my sister's point of view. But I'm just flushed with rage and instead just tell her that I'm going to report the vehicle as stolen instead. She just hung up the phone. As of now, I presume my car is down with my sister, and I'm seriously considering reporting it stolen and naming her and my sister as perpetrator and conspirator. I don't want it to go that far. I hope that we could instead work this out, but what I initially said as an angry threat, I'm starting to really consider as an option. I just don't know if it's worth burning so many bridges over a car, but the fact that my family won't respect my boundaries or my property is so frustrating. Would I be the arsehole? And there's just one string of comments I'm going to cover before we go to the update. There is a couple of updates on this one, by the way, but Kavi says not the arsehole. This is absolute theft and they need to learn to respect your property. Call it in. Twitch Brio replies to that and says, if mum wanted sis to have a car so much, mum should have offered mum's car, not your car. There is no way that your sister will respect and care for your car the same way you would. Also, with 4 daughters, it's only a matter of time before hamburger stains and soft drink spills start appearing. I would call the police. It's the only way apparently to get your point across, as you have said no multiple times. Mowgli replies to that and says this, if I were feeling inclined to warn them, I would give them 15 minutes on top of the time it takes to drive from her home or work to OP's place. That's more than generous. They may say this will ruin her life. No, she is ruining her life by stealing a fucking car. She has the opportunity to bring it back right the fuck now or get picked up from our home or work by the police. The most recent activity on OP's account is 8 hours ago. Hope they've gone quiet because they've been dealing with this since an hour after posting and immediately been hit with dozens of supporting comments. Please update us when you're ready, OP. Reddit Toxin says, the only thing that concerns me about taking the nuclear option here is that, from what it sounds like at least, they do have leverage over him. Or the mum does at least, because I'm assuming the mum owns the house he lives in. I know for me, if I were ready to take the police route, I'd also be prepared to be kicked out of the house and make sure I have all my stuff prepared to go beforehand. Giving someone a police record is kind of a big flaming bridge you gotta be ready to leave behind for good. Road Goddess also says this, also not the arsehole. The issue is, if she has any accident in your car, it goes on your insurance and your insurance rates will go up. Aside from the fact girls in your new car are sure to destroy it quickly. If you want to retain some level of peace, I would contact both of them and let them know that you will be calling the police in 20 minutes unless they get the car back to you. The reality is, your sister should be working out the transportation issues with her ex-husband. This is not your responsibility. It's theirs as a family, even if they are separated. Or your mother should offer her car to drive if it's not that big of a deal. And for me personally, I always try to think of the thought process going through in their mind at that time. They've been told multiple times that they can't borrow the car, but they still think, I'm going to take it anyway, and think they're just going to get away with it. I mean, we have seen situations where people have gotten away with it, of course, but their initial thoughts for them, just thinking that this is acceptable, is absolutely bizarre to me. But OP does come with an update 12 hours after the original post and says, "Thanks everyone for all the input into the situation. I sincerely appreciate it. I ended up giving them an ultimatum to return my car by business close tonight. And if they do, I'd be willing to move past it and not let it affect any future relationships. Then I would also pitch in a small amount of money to help my sister rent/buy her own car. But if they don't return it by business close, I will be filing a police report that my vehicle has been stolen and that it was my mum who is the perpetrator and my sister is a conspirator." To answer a couple of questions all at once, Mum has her own car, but doesn't want to lend hers out because she needs it for work every day. I'd offered to let her use mine for work and she lend her car to sister, but she refused this idea, saying that she doesn't feel comfortable driving my car and that she needs ample space for medical supplies. She is an in-home nurse. I'm well aware that my living situation will change if I call the police on my mum and sister, but honestly, the living situation is already compromised. Regardless of the resolution, I'll be moving out as immediately as possible, as I'm financially stable enough to do so. This whole thing is just the straw that broke the camel's back. Didn't put in the original post, but I've been getting a lot of comments regarding living for free at my mother's house. We split bills 60-40 on basically everything. It's not truly 50-50. But absolutely by no means am I freeloading at my mum's house. We'll update again if the car has been returned or not. A couple of hours later, OP says car has been returned, so the police will not be needed to get involved. However, there is body damage that wasn't there the last time I used it. Can't tell if it was intentional damage or not, but it honestly doesn't matter. OP then shares a picture of their passenger side wing and front bumper around the wheel arch that's hugely dented, I'd say. Scratches all along it, and it on the metal part of the wing, it looks like it's actually down to the metal. And I know people can do wonders on repairs these days, and it may be able to be repaired with a lot of work, but it probably would be cheaper to replace the wing. I'm not an expert on that, so I'm sure people will correct me. But just put it this way, it's a significant amount of damage and I would be pissed off. But OP continues saying, "We'll be getting all relevant papers in order, and then we'll be lawyering up so the damages are paid for. As soon as this entire situation is resolved, I will be moving out. I've learned to never keep my keys out ever again. Thanks so much everyone for your input and advice." So a lot of people were giving OP advice on the damage and saying, this needs to be reported, etc. So a couple hours later, OP comes in with a final update and says, "After the overwhelming majority of you told me that I need to go to the police in my last post, I've decided to report the entire situation to my local sheriff's office. We'll do everything in my power to make it so charges aren't pressed, which I hope is likely since car was returned. We'll still be doing everything I mentioned in my previous post regarding getting all papers in order and moving out as soon as possible. We're probably still looking to getting a lawyer just in case. Told the sheriff's office that my car was stolen for approximately 16 hours by my mum and sister, and that when the car was returned, there was body damage that wasn't previously there. They are sending over a deputy to take a look at my car and question myself and my mum about the situation. I have group text chats that list my ultimatum, as well as some texts that were exchanged previously about my mum and sister essentially begging to use my car while I kept saying no. I'll be making my mum or my sister pay for the body damage, and if insurance won't, I'll be going to court for it. I don't care how petty that is, or if it just opens an even larger can of worms. I absolutely refuse to pay $2,000 plus for body damage repairs that I didn't create." Hopefully this is the actual final update. I will have to post regarding the situation. Regardless of the damage, I'm glad that I have my car back. Family situation is beyond busted, and I'll be going no contact with sister for an indefinite amount of time. And will do the same with my mum as soon as I move out, which is hopefully by the end of the month. Thank you all for your advice and input throughout this whole ordeal. If you took that car for one day and damaged it, I really hope that is the end for OP and that they do get the money to fix the damages and it isn't through their insurance, etc., to avoid their premiums going up. But I still just don't feel like that is the end for OP. It's been a few days since they've posted another update, but Mum and sister in this story just seem like the kind of people that they just keep walking over your boundaries. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's have another story. And our next story comes from I'm Not Here 1678. And the Am I the Arsehole subreddit does come with an update as well, saying am I the arsehole for not wanting to do a cake for my stepsister? I, 20 female, and my stepsister Clara, 28 female, never had any problems before. We stayed civil with each other, mostly because we actually don't interact that much, so there's no room for fights since we just don't see each other often, until now. She's getting married in a couple of days, and my brother-in-law asked me for something a week ago. A cake. I do cakes and sell them, but not for a living. Just so I can get a little bit more money to pay my college, so I don't have experience doing such big cakes for big events. Brother-in-law told me it's not a big wedding, so I don't have to worry. It's a decently sized cake for at least 80 people. Still big, but something I can manage, so I said yes. I sent Clara a message asking for specifications, and she replied with screenshots of cakes from Pinterest. Nothing more. I had to push her further so she can give me exact ideas for the cake since all her replies to my questions were, it's literally in the images I sent, can't you see? Whatever. Days passed and I sent her a quick sketch of the cake and she didn't reply. Other days passed and I sent an image of all the things I bought for the cake so she can tell me if it's the thing she asked for. But again, nothing. So I then told her how much the cake would cost and that if she can please pay me half now so she can pay the other half later. And this time I did get an answer. A call. She was fuming and demanded an explanation of why I'm charging her for the cake, practically yelling at me. I was confused by her reaction, and I had to explain that it's literally my job and that I already bought all the things for her cake, so all I'm asking is for half of the payment. She said that how dare I charge her for a cake for her special day? That family does things for each other without expecting something back, and more BS like that. Long story short, she's not paying for shit and made sure to make it very clear that she's not giving me a single penny. Yesterday she called me again and asked me how is her cake going. I told her I'm not doing anything since she's not paying. That if she wants a cake, she can ask someone else. She yelled and cried, saying I'm a selfish bitch and I don't care about her and there's no time for her to get another person. So to please stop being a bitch and help her out. I laughed at her and hung up. Later, my dad called and told me that I'm an asshole for laughing at Clara when she's in distress and that just make a stupid cake so she can stop complaining about me. I admit, I actually can do her cake since I already have the things. So that got me thinking, well maybe I'm being a salty arsehole. I can do a cake, have the things already bought, and her sketch made, so I don't lose anything. My mum told me the exact same. I'm genuinely starting to think that I might be an arsehole here. So Reddit, am I the arsehole? You say that you're not losing anything, you've already lost the money for the ingredients and everything, your time putting into the sketch, and you're going to lose even more of your time baking this damn cake for someone that's so disrespectful. I gotta say, I did almost chuckle at that phone call where she yelled and cried at you and called you a selfish bitch, and that there's no time for her to get another person. And, you know, her response was, so stop being a bitch and help her out. I mean, if you're trying to convince someone to make you a cake at last minute, you certainly shouldn't be calling them names. And there were some comments which OP replied to and gave some additional information. Someone asked, did you tell your brother-in-law you needed payment in the initial conversation? OP says, he told me that Clara is the one who showed him a post of my cakes. I found out like 5 minutes ago that Clara lied to him, telling him that yes, I charge for my cakes, but because she's my family and because I supposedly understood how important her wedding was, that I'm not charging them. But the cake is my wedding gift. I couldn't put it in the post, but I spent money I was saving to pay my semester on her cake, so that money isn't something I can spend without needing it later. Also, I was willing to sit down and talk with her, but my cousin told me that Clara is shit talking about me in the family group chat, and that I'm already out of the guest list, so I'm no longer invited at her wedding. I'm not mad, I honestly get it, but that only gives me more reasons to stop involving with her if she's acting like that. Someone says, can you return the ingredients? OP says I definitely can, since I still have the receipts, but my brother-in-law told me to keep them since he's not sure if he's going to find a baker who's willing to do a cake in 4 days. I'm just doing it for him, but honestly, I'm actually planning to use them for a graduation cake since all the decorations are golden. I'm just waiting for further actualization. Someone says, tell your brother-in-law you'll make the cake for his next wedding. OP says, actually, he's really nice. He overheard the fight I had with Clara and apologized for her behavior, and he's willing to pay for the cake. I said that I appreciate his kindness, but I don't feel comfortable doing Clara's cake because of all the awful things she said about me. He's currently looking for another baker while Clara keeps telling everyone that I'm doing her cake because she's definitely not accepting that for her own fault. She's not getting the cake from me. I feel pity for brother-in-law, not gonna lie. More about the stepsister. She hasn't been directly mean to me, but she does shit talk behind my back. I stopped talking with a lot of family members because I found out she always vents about how much she hates me because my dad left her for me. Even when I'm the youngest of the 3 daughters and her mum cheated on my dad, so yeah, definitely my fault. And they agreed with her twisted mindset about me. She actually tried to get a discount because the dress is for a wedding day. A discount because she's a bride in a wedding dress shop. She's a massive joke. Yes, lol, when she couldn't get a discount, she tried to imply to the owner of the shop that she's suddenly invited on her wedding. The owner said that she's done with weddings, but she appreciated the offer, lol. Everyone saw through her fake invitation and pretty much ignored her the rest of the shopping. And the cherry on top. We paid, me and some other cousins, for their honeymoon. A week in Cabo, everything paid, hotel, restaurant reservations, tourist rides, dinner on a yacht, etc. It was expensive as fuck and paid for everything like 5 months ago, with tons and stress because certain dates didn't add up. Actually, the reason why I started to sell the cakes and other desserts was because paying the honeymoon was really expensive, and I ended up without a single penny after that. We told both of them our gift was that, and she told us we didn't have to worry for gifts on our wedding, that the honeymoon is more than okay with it. Apparently, it wasn't. The OP does update the post, and they said, so I posted here some time ago and I feel it's correct to update all of you. I stood my ground and refused to do the cake. Actually made some cupcakes using Clara's cake decoration and turned it into graduation ones for my friends and their classmates. I posted it on Instagram yesterday and some family members blocked me because of it. Fine to say there was a photo of 2 of my friends faking a proposal using one of the cupcakes as a ring and I posted it with a text that said, at least these 2 are getting a wedding dessert from me. Petty, I know. Also, because yesterday was the wedding and, I wasn't invited. I spent the day with my friends and later some uncles and cousins told me to at least I should have been respectful and stayed the evening at home. Stupid? Yes. Did I tell them that? Of course. That's why they blocked me straight up and ignored me. Important thing here, there was no cake in Clara's wedding. Guests who aren't from the family asked why there wasn't a cake, and they made up a lot of things such as, oh, we just don't want the cake, to the cake got accidentally destroyed when it wasn't getting sent to here. And they even tried to imply that Clara was pregnant by saying something along the lines that Clara was getting nauseous over the idea of fondant, so that's why there's no cake. Anyways, the situation thankfully de-escalated and now everyone is calm. I haven't reached out about the cake, besides the cupcake thing, but my cousin told me that some people were mad because I didn't show up with the cake. Like, I was uninvited. How the fuck they wanted me to show up and also with a free cake? They are delulu just like Clara. Brother-in-law was so ashamed because of the lies Clara said about the cake and confessed to me he's only 1 day being married and already thinking of divorce. I actually feel bad and told him that I got his back with whatever decision he makes. So that's all for this update. Thank you so much for everyone for their words in my first post. It was really funny to see revenge ideas and also a relief to see non-biased opinions on the situation since everyone was siding with Clara. And I was so close to surrender and make the cake. Actually, when I first posted, I was preparing some flour and mix thinking, this is it. There's tons of people telling me not to fall into the gaslighting and manipulation of Clara, and it got me rethinking my decision and immediately stopped. Thank you so much everyone. I'm going to post again the day brother-in-law divorces Clara. Lol. Someone said below the update to OP, they said you're the asshole for posting on Instagram and you seem excited for the divorce, to which OP said sure. I already said that I'm in fact petty, I admit it. Also, I'm not excited. Brother-in-law is the one who told me, well, I'm updating you the day I divorce her, since he's genuinely debating it. So you can say it on Reddit. I didn't tell him about the post. He found it himself. So the last line is pretty much just a joke between us that I know he's going to see. You can stop crying now. And there was just one more comment I spotted that I just got to read out. It's from A Tale of Pizza, who said, OP right there being Petty Crocker. And I love it. I found it very, very strange with the family that they said, you know, you're not invited to the wedding, but you shouldn't be going out and with your friends either and having fun. You should be respectful and stay in on that day. I mean, what kind of fucking logic is that? Anyway, what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. Truly, it means the absolute world. And hopefully, we'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.